The Galactic Council had existed for 12,000 cycles, a sprawling bureaucracy of 17 species that governed the known sectors of space. In all that time, humans had been nothing more than whispers, ghost stories told by traders who claimed to have seen impossible things in the frontier systems. Most dismissed these tales as fantasy, the product of isolation psychosis or contaminated life support systems. Danny Jacora didn't believe in fairy tales. As a Vexillian diplomatic officer stationed on Council Hub 7, she had heard every ridiculous legend the galaxy had to offer. Her species, the Vexillians, were traders and negotiators by nature, their crystalline physiology allowing them to perceive electromagnetic fluctuations that made them natural lie detectors. She had built her career on facts, evidence, and the cold logic of interstellar law. That's why the emergency session of the Council struck her as particularly absurd. "Another human sighting?" she asked her aide, Corvin, as they hurried through the orbital station's central ring. "This is the third one this month." "This time they have evidence," Corvin replied, his mandibles clicking nervously. "Visual recordings. Sensor data. Danny, they're saying it's a warship." She stopped walking. "That's impossible. Humans are a myth. A convenient explanation for unexplained phenomena. Tell that to the Draknari border fleet. Half of it just vanished." The council chamber was chaos when they arrived. Representatives from 17 species argued in a cacophony of languages, their translation matrices struggling to keep pace. At the center of the spherical room, a holographic display rotated slowly, showing sensor readings that made Danny's crystalline skin pulse with unease. It was a ship. But not like any ship in the galactic database, where council vessels were elegant and efficient. This thing was brutal, angular. Its hull seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, and its dimensions suggested a mass that should have been impossible to maneuver. Energy signatures spiked across multiple spectrums, indicating weapon systems that exceeded any known technology by orders of magnitude. "Where did this come from?" Danny demanded. The Draknari admiral, a hulking reptilian covered in battle scars, turned his massive head toward her. "The Perseus arm. They came through a jump point we thought was dead. No hails, no warnings. They destroyed 3 of our destroyers in 47 seconds. 47 seconds? Danny felt her skin dim with disbelief. A Draknari destroyer could level a planet. 3 of them should have been able to handle anything. They used kinetic weapons," the admiral continued. "Projectiles accelerated to .98 light speed. Our shields couldn't compensate. And then," he paused, something like fear flickering in his ancient eyes, "they broadcast a message. In perfect galactic common." The chamber fell silent. Danny's entire body crystallized with tension. "What did they say?" "They said, 'You have entered human territory. Leave now or be destroyed.'" The recording played. A voice, neither mechanical nor organic, spoke with absolute authority. "This is Captain Noah Reeves of the UNSC Indomitable. You have violated the sovereign borders of the Human Colonial Authority by the laws of war established under the Geneva Convention and the Articles of Interstellar Engagement. You are hereby ordered to withdraw immediately. Failure to comply will result in the total destruction of your fleet. You have 60 seconds. The Draknari had laughed at the ultimatum. They were the oldest military power in the galaxy, conquerors of 100 worlds. They had opened fire. The recording showed what happened next. The human warship moved like nothing Danny had ever seen. Impossible acceleration, trajectory changes that should have turned any crew into paste. Its weapons weren't just powerful. They were precise. Each shot calculated, each impact perfectly placed to destroy without waste. Within a minute, the Draknari fleet had been reduced to expanding clouds of debris. And then the human ship had simply left, vanishing back through the jump point. "This changes everything," the Council Archon announced, her voice carrying the weight of centuries. "If humans are real, if they possess this level of technology, then we have been catastrophically wrong about the nature of our galaxy." Danny spent the next 3 days analyzing every scrap of data they had on human sightings. Patterns emerged. For millennia, humans had apparently been exploring, watching, studying the galactic community from the shadows. Every major conflict, every first contact event, every technological breakthrough, there were traces of human observation. They had been here all along, invisible and patient. But why reveal themselves now? The answer came when the Zephan Collective made their move. The Zephans were expansionists. a hive mind species that had been eyeing the mineral-rich Kepler sector for decades. With the Council in disarray over the human question, they saw an opportunity. Their battle swarms descended on 3 colony worlds, overwhelming the defenders with sheer numbers. Danny was on Hub 7 when the alert came through. The colonies were inhabited by the Peller, a peaceful species with minimal military capability. Millions would die, then space tore open. Not one human ship emerged, but dozens. Massive carriers disgorged smaller craft that moved with predatory grace. Capital ships that made the indomitable look small positioned themselves with strategic precision. And at the center of it all, a dreadnought that seemed to bend light around its hull. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Human Colonial Fleet," a new voice broadcast across all frequencies. "The Zephon Collective has violated multiple interstellar laws regarding civilian populations. As signatories to the Sapient Rights Accords, which we have been upholding since before most of your civilizations achieved spaceflight, we are authorized to intervene." The battle was less a fight than a demonstration. Human fighters carved through Zephon swarms with weapons that seemed to predict their targets' movements. Capital ships unleashed barrages that overwhelmed Zephon defenses without damaging the colonies below. And when the Zephons tried to retreat, the human fleet let them go. But not before tagging each ship with tracking beacons. "A warning to all species," Admiral Chen continued. "Humanity has watched you grow, stumble, and sometimes fall. We hoped you would mature on your own, develop the wisdom to match your technology. But we will no longer stand by while innocents suffer. Consider this our formal introduction to the Galactic Council. We have much to discuss." In the council chamber, Danny stood beside Captain Noah Reeves, the man from the first recording. He was surprisingly young, with tired eyes that had seen too much. Human physiology was bizarre. Soft skin, no natural armor, vulnerable to a dozen environmental factors that other species shrugged off. "Why hide for so long?" Danny asked him quietly. "With your technology, you could have dominated the galaxy millennia ago." Noah smiled. A gesture Danny had learned indicated something between amusement and sadness. "Because dominance isn't the goal. We learned that the hard way in our own history. Humans nearly destroyed ourselves a dozen times before we figured out that survival means cooperation, not conquest. We stayed hidden because we wanted you all to make that choice yourselves. And now we've run out of time. There are threats coming from beyond this sector, things that make the Zephon Collective look like an annoyance. If the galaxy is going to survive, it needs to be united. And sometimes..." He looked at the assembled delegates, some fearful, some angry, all uncertain. "Sometimes humanity needs to remind the universe that hope and determination aren't just nice ideas. They're weapons." Danny looked at the human before her, this creature from a species that shouldn't exist, and felt her crystalline structure resonate with a frequency she'd never experienced before. It took her a moment to identify it. "Inspiration." "Well then, Captain Reeves," she said, her voice carrying across the chamber. "Let's get to work." The legends had been wrong about one thing. Humans weren't just deadly warriors with impossible ships. They were something far more dangerous. They were proof that even the smallest, most vulnerable species could become giants if they refused to give up. And as the galaxy would soon learn, there was nothing more terrifying or more inspiring than a determined human. The age of hiding was over. The age of humanity had begun.